Hello, and welcome to this training on talking with clients about ACEs and child brain development. This training was created to support home visiting nurses in the Trauma Informed Approach, or TIA PHN program, with ideas and resources for talking with clients about ACEs and brain development. How do I talk with my clients about ACEs? This is the number one question that PHNs new to the TIA program ask. And it's the biggest initial worry that I hear expressed. While it is a valid question, it's a difficult one to answer because the answer is always it depends. It depends on the client. All ACEs conversations should be client-centered and client-focused. So each conversation will be as unique and surprising as the human being you're talking with. According to the California ACEs Aware Fundamentals, some people who have experienced ACEs or other adversities may feel shame, blame, anger, sadness, and/or embarrassment. However, some patients find the experience of the ACEs conversation empowering and report a positive emotional response to being able to make important connections between ACEs, toxic stress, and their current health. The original researchers found that overall, study participants were not troubled by the questionnaire. But that said, it's important to think about your approach and your client, and be ready to empower clients by providing education on simple things they can do every day, those resilience factors referenced in the guidebook, to help regulate their stress response system and buffer the negative impacts of toxic stress. So our goals for today are to help you be able to tell anyone about the who, what, when, and why of the original ACE study in 5 minutes or less, to understand where the ACE questionnaire came from and its strengths and limitations, to be able to walk away without providing an ACE questionnaire and explain why you don't always want to provide an ACE questionnaire, to understand the what and why of some general recommendations regarding ACE questionnaires, to describe 3 different ways to start an ACE conversation with a client, and to recognize client behaviors that support child brain development and describe why those behaviors support child brain development. So the first thing we should do is get an elevator speech ready. An elevator speech is a description you can share with almost anyone in a really short period of time, like the time it takes to get to the top floor of a high-rise building in the financial district, because you never know when you're going to bump into someone you really want to share your work with. And it's also really confidence building to have an elevator speech in your back pocket so that you know how to describe ACEs to anyone, anytime. Here's my elevator speech. A couple of scientists, one from the CDC and one from Kaiser San Diego, gave about 17,000 Kaiser members a questionnaire about their childhood experiences. When they evaluated the questionnaires, they noticed that certain experiences in childhood, specifically 10 experiences in 3 domains, physical abuse, mental abuse, and family dysfunction, were associated with poor health in adulthood. The original study was conducted way back in the 90s, but since then it's been replicated hundreds of times. The last time I checked, it was more than 789, published in 351 different academic journals, with each study increasing our knowledge and understanding of what we now call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. We talk about ACEs because on a population, these adverse childhood experiences are associated with many chronic diseases, from diabetes and heart disease to substance use disorder and depression. And we can do something about this public health crisis. In the TIA PHN program, what we're doing is helping caregivers understand the potential impact on brain development and later health and well-being of adverse childhood experiences, and the protective impact of a safe, stable, and nurturing environment during childhood. We also educate caregivers who experienced ACEs as children themselves on specific activities they can do to improve their own health and well-being by learning to regulate their own stress response. Our goal with this talking and teaching, it's to disrupt the transmission of ACEs from this generation to the next. So that was about 2 minutes and pretty general, something I think I could share with most people. I really encourage you to go ahead and check out the original ACEs study and also the Trauma-Informed Public Health Nursing Visits to Parents and Children's publication, and create your own elevator speech. Put it in your back pocket and be ready to talk about ACEs with anyone, anytime. So what is the ACE questionnaire? The 10-question ACE questionnaire was developed about 17 years ago, well after the original study. The de-identified tool was created by the Office of the California Surgeon General and is intended to avoid any risk of re-traumatization by allowing a participant to share only as much as they want to share. The tool is currently available in 17 languages on the ACEs Aware website. The questions begin with family dysfunction. Did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or take care of you? Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or another reason? Did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide? Did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? Did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? All of these things represent family dysfunction and are a challenge to effective parenting. Physical abuse is represented by 2 questions. Did a parent or adult in your home ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? And did you experience unwanted sexual contact? Emotional abuse is represented in the questions. Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? And did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? 10 questions, 3 domains. These aren't exactly the questions exactly the way they were asked in the original study, but they are a really close approximation. So where did the ACE questionnaire come from? Honestly, Dr. Anda made it up. He based it on the original study questionnaire, but he created it as a teaching tool to show the types of questions that were in the original study so that people could learn about ACEs by getting their own ACE score, and so that people would understand that ACEs are everywhere. Dr. Anda meant for the ACE questionnaire to be a tool to help people understand what ACEs are and where they are, which is everywhere, and to help start conversations about ACEs. The questionnaire was never meant to be a standard for any clinical decision-making. It's not a diagnostic tool. It's not a screening tool. It doesn't predict individual health risk, and the risks associated with exposure to ACEs don't have any cutoff points. Health risks on the population level often double with a single ACE. So the risks of the ACE questionnaire are when we take it from a population level to an individual level. The ACE questionnaire was never meant to assess individual health risks. When we try to do that, we risk labeling individuals and stigmatizing entire populations. We risk discrimination. We risk both overestimating and underestimating individual health and well-being risks. And that's because the ACE questionnaire was never meant to be a diagnostic or screening tool. It doesn't assess the frequency, intensity, or chronicity of toxic stress exposure. It doesn't take into consideration the gender differences that exist in toxic stress response, or the difference in the effect of specific stressors depending upon the developmental period during which the stress is experienced. It doesn't consider individual variability in stress response. The ACE questionnaire doesn't take into consideration other potential adverse experiences related to community and environment. And it doesn't take into account protective influences, both within and outside of the family. So why use the ACE questionnaire at all? I'm going to let Dr. Anda tell you.
Yeah, I'm Rob Anda, and I'm the co-principal investigator of the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. And we're going to take a half an hour or so to talk about inside the ACE score, the strengths, limitations, and emerging misuses of that score. Now, what is the real power of the ACE study? It's simple, and it teaches us that ACEs are common and they're highly interrelated. They pile up and have a cumulative impact on the risk for numerous public health problems. And that's captured by the ACE score. And ACEs account for a large percentage of health and social problems.
We're going to stop there, but I encourage you to listen to the rest of his presentation. So the power of the ACE study is that it's simple. It shows that ACEs are common and highly interrelated, and they have a cumulative impact on health. And that ACEs account for a large percentage of health and social problems. The ACE score is a data point. It's a public health data point. Data points, though, can be really important for showing need in a population like clients of the TIA-PHN program.
Yeah,
So why can't the ACE questionnaire be used as an assessment or screening tool? Because health risks following ACE exposure depend on frequency of exposure, intensity of experience, chronicity of experience, gender differences in response, developmental period of exposure, variability of stress response related to individual biology and resilience factors. The original ACE study showed outcomes on a population level, not an individual level. Individually, we can't know for sure what outcomes a person may have related to their ACE exposure. On a population level, though, at least 5 of the top 10 leading causes of death are associated with ACEs. Preventing ACEs could prevent about 21 million cases of depression, 1.9 million cases of heart disease, and cut smoking by a third. But on an individual level, we are not assessing health and well-being risks. While an individual ACE score is a data point, the questionnaire itself is a teaching tool. It's a narrative history tool, a tool for understanding and for compassion. It's about the conversation, not the questionnaire. And if you think you just heard me say that getting the ACE score isn't the important part, you're correct, I did. ACE scores are a public health data point. They are not an assessment of an individual client's future health or well-being. The knowledge you share with your client is what makes positive change, not their ACE score. No means no. If a client isn't interested in talking to you about ACEs or taking the questionnaire, leave it. It's as simple as that. And I'll tell you why. Because the average length of enrollment for a client who achieved 80 to 100% of TIA-PHN outcome measures in the pilot data was 6 months. That's 6 to 12 visits for increased rates of immunization, increased uptake of contraception, increased use of a medical home and a dental home, increased use of health insurance, and increased rates of breast chest feeding. You can't support your client to make change if they won't let you in the door. So make sure you start where they are and follow their lead. That said, ACE education is important for perinatal clients. Understanding ACE history can identify risks to reproductive health and promote a positive cycle of health by reducing intergenerational transmission of ACEs and toxic stress. When you talk about ACEs with a perinatal or parenting person, you are giving them the opportunity to review their own experiences and to think about what they want for their children. And that is powerful. So in the TIA PHN guidebook, it says, delivery of the model curriculum provides standardized, trauma-informed education while avoiding re-traumatization. It utilizes a participant-centered approach to share information specific to the promotion of a participant's health and well-being and childhood development as related to their trauma history. Speaking with participants about the science of adverse childhood experiences and how to build resilience can help parents reflect on how their own trauma history affects their current life circumstances and possibly their children's future outcomes. It also encourages self-empowerment among parents and caregivers, thus influencing healthy decision-making and positive long-term health outcomes. But before you start, a few general recommendations. And that is to start with your client. Get to know your client a little bit first. How do they like to learn? And what do they want to learn about? In this case, you want to make an assumption. Always assume a history of trauma. And before you begin, you want to get in touch with your own ACEs. If you haven't already, take an ACE questionnaire. Think about your history growing up and where your resilience comes from. And then when you're ready and you've established a relationship with your client, you want to ask permission. The ACE questionnaire is voluntary. It has to be voluntary. Privacy is crucial. Assess the situation. Who's present? Allow participants to disclose as much or as little as they choose. And always end with gratitude. Thank your client for sharing their story with you. All right, let's get down to business. One approach for talking with clients about ACEs is to just go for it. Use an opening line, any opening line you like. One of the things we do in the TIA PHN program is talk with our clients about how baby brains develop. Have you ever heard of ACEs? What have you heard? Can I share some information with you? I encourage you to think of 3 or 4 different opening lines that you think you might use and truly actually write them down and put them in your back pocket with your elevator speech. Still really nervous about starting a conversation? Consider sharing a video. Let the video do the talking. You may be surprised how much your client has to say at the end of the video. Some things to consider when you're sharing a video: try and keep it pretty short. Make sure it's appropriate for this particular client. Use a video that you like, because if you don't like the video, you're not going to want to talk about it. And tell your client why you like the video. I like this video because it covers a lot of information, and we can talk about it after we watch it. I had so many questions the first time I saw this video, and that's why I liked it. It really gave me a lot to think about. Let's watch it.
A child's experiences early in life are important building blocks for the developing brain. Genes, nature, are like the blueprint. They provide the basic framework for brain development. However, genes do not design the brain completely. Environmental influences, nurture, fine-tune how the brain works by shaping which brain connections get used. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent, whereas ones that do not get much use fade away. Together, genes and the environment build the foundation for all future development. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships early in life lead to healthy development. But children's brains capture other experiences as well. Stressful events. However, not all stress is bad. Positive stress involves normal childhood experiences, like starting daycare or meeting a new person for the first time. This stress is essential for healthy development because it helps children develop coping skills and confidence. But when stress is frequent, chronic, and uncontrolled, it is toxic to children, especially when they do not have a caregiver to provide support or buffer the stress. Adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, such as abuse, neglect, exposure to intimate partner violence, parental depression or addiction, and poverty, are toxic stressors which could lead to lifelong changes in learning and behavior. ACEs early in development can impact social, emotional, and cognitive functioning, increased risk-taking behavior such as drinking and substance use, and increased risk of disease, disability, and social problems later in life. The question is, how do adverse childhood experiences impact a lifelong development? One of the most important systems in our body is our stress system. It's activated when we experience stress. We become alert, our heart rate increases, and so do our stress hormone levels, cortisol and adrenaline. Our body is ready to react, what is known as fight or flight. A short period of time after the stress is over, or if a child receives support from a caregiver, the stress response turns off and the body returns to a normal state. Adverse childhood experiences create stress responses that stay active, and without the support of a caregiver, the system has difficulty shutting off completely. This constant and prolonged activation can affect immune system functioning and increase the chances of sickness, infection, and disease. Prolonged activation of stress hormones is also toxic to the brain. Certain areas of the brain are more vulnerable to toxic stress, including the executive center or the brain's control center, an area important for solving complex problems, attention, reasoning, impulsivity, inhibition, and learning. A second area is the emotional center, the brain's alarm system, which is involved in processing and interpreting emotions and the ability to control impulses. The third area is the memory and learning center, the brain's filing cabinet, which plays a major role in learning and the formation and retrieval of memories. Science shows that adverse childhood experiences impact all of these brain centers. Behaviorally, what we begin to see is emotional distress, poor emotion regulation, greater impulsivity, learning difficulties, and physical and mental health problems. More recently, science has begun to look at how ACEs cause changes in gene expression through a process called epigenetics, which helps us understand how nature and nurture interact. Epigenetics causes changes in the way genes work without changing the DNA code itself. This occurs through chemical changes influencing how the code is used. In other words, genes are like the hardware in a computer. They determine the boundaries of what is possible. However, we need an operating system to tell the hardware what to do. Epigenetics is like the operating system directing the function of a gene's DNA hardware. The genes we are born with are the genes that we have for life, but experiences like nutrition, exercise, smoking, stressors, and relationships all affect our biology. Adverse childhood experiences are associated with epigenetic changes related to stress, brain development, cognition, and systems associated with mental and physical health. Changes that happen early in brain development are more likely to be enduring and are possibly passed on to future generations as well. The good news is that positive, supportive relationships at any stage in life can make a difference. However, supporting families and children early on will help prevent many of these negative outcomes. One of the key ingredients for healthy development is having warm, loving, and actively engaged caregivers. This involves promoting serve and return interactions, where caregivers actively and warmly engage with the child, making eye contact, responding to sounds, words, gestures, emotional needs, and sharing experiences like reading and play. Providing programs that support caregivers to strengthen these abilities are the blocks that build healthy foundations for life.
There are tons of videos out there. Review some, choose a few you like, and put those in your back pocket with your elevator speech and your opening line. After a video, you can ask, would you like to see the ACEs questionnaire? Are you interested in looking at the ACE questionnaire? Can I show you the ACE questionnaire? Another way to talk with clients about ACEs is to talk about stress. Most people have experienced it, and TIA clients are generally experiencing quite a lot of it. You can ask, what do you know about stress? What happens when you get stressed out? Did you know some kinds of stress are actually healthy? Can I share some information about stress with you? You can use images to explain the concept of toxic stress. The little baby in the top picture is actually experiencing positive stress. Although his heart rate is up and he is having some elevations in stress hormone levels, it's a good thing. He's learning. For the little baby in the middle, this is some pretty serious looking stress, but it's a temporary stress response buffered by his supportive relationship, by his caregiver. So this stress is tolerable. His stress levels will go up, but they'll come back down. Stress can be toxic when it's the prolonged activation of a stress response system without a protective relationship. The baby in the picture at the bottom, his stress level has gone up, but because there is no one to help him regulate his stress response, his stress level is likely to stay high. And that's when it becomes toxic to brain development. You can use an infographic. Just don't leave your client alone with an infographic. You want to actually read the text and look at the pictures together. Make sure the infographic is appropriate for this particular client. And don't give your client the infographic without asking if they want it. Don't forget about the TIA PHN program wellness infographic. You can actually start with this infographic, especially if your client says something like, I've been feeling really stressed lately. You don't have to have an ACE score to benefit from these practices. And most of your clients are probably already practicing at least some of these wellness activities. So it's an opportunity to provide positive feedback about the healthy activities they're already doing. And then you can let your client know. The ACEs questionnaire asks about specific childhood experiences that can cause an overactive stress response system. Would you like to see the questionnaire? A third way to start the conversation. Start with the good stuff. ACEs are buffered by a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. Early experiences affect even the way our genes are expressed. You can notice positive parenting behaviors already happening and promote them. Epigenetics and intergenerational trauma are two ways science talks about how childhood experiences can affect adult behavior. How you are cared for can create your caregiving behaviors. But When a caregiver becomes aware of their caregiving goals and behaviors and makes an effort to meet a child's needs, they can help break the cycle of intergenerational trauma. I recently read this article by Jason Wu, a Bay Area trauma-informed therapist, 4 ways to break the cycle of intergenerational trauma. He says, some of my patients have children, and they worry they will hurt their children the same way their parents hurt them. I tell them that research has found that understanding and meeting a child's needs just 50% of the time is enough for them to develop in a healthy way. By working through their own trauma and learning about the needs of their children, parents and caregivers can give their children the love they need. And by doing so, they are the ones breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma in their families. So one way to introduce an ACEs conversation is to start with the good stuff. Catch the caregiver doing the right thing and reinforce the caregiver's behavior with information about creating a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. So for the little family on the upper left picture, I might say something like, did you know when you share your kids' focus of attention like that, you're actually helping to build their brains? Not only are you learning about their abilities and what they're interested in, but you're strengthening your bond with them as they feel encouraged and supported to explore. And for the couple below that on the bottom left, maybe something like, when you stop to support your child to recover and reset their stress response, you are actually helping to build their skills for dealing with life's challenges by giving them a safe and secure base. You're letting your child know his thoughts and feelings are heard and understood. Where did you learn to respond this way? For the photo on the upper right, I might say something like, look at you guys, making eye contact and sharing smiles and sounds, even with your little baby. It helps build your relationship and your baby's budding communication skills. Did you know that not responding to their smiles and coos can actually be stressful for a baby? Great work. And for the photo on the bottom right, I just want to point out your excellent parenting skill here. Your support and encouragement is building your son's brain. Your cheers are supporting his interest and curiosity. And of course, you're showing your son you care about him. See something good? Say something. Human brains are barely 1/3 developed when we're born. We have a lot to learn, and we learn it only in relationship with other human beings. Those relationships can be safe, stable, and nurturing, or they can be stressful. Either way, a developing brain will adapt.
The key to forming strong brain architecture is what's known as serve and return interaction with adults. In this developmental game, new neural connections form in the brain as young children instinctively serve through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures. And adults return the serve, responding in a very directed, meaningful way. It starts very early in life when a baby coos and the adult interacts and directs the baby's attention to a face or hand. This interaction forms the foundation of brain architecture upon which all future development will be built. It helps create neural connections between all the different areas of the brain, building the emotional and cognitive skills children need in life. For example, here's how it works for literacy and language skills. When the baby sees an object, the adult says its name. This makes connections in the baby's brain between particular sounds and their corresponding objects. Later, adults show young children that those objects and sounds can also be represented by marks on a page. With continued support from adults, children then learn how to decipher writing and eventually to write themselves. Each stage builds on what came before. Ensuring that children have adult caregivers who consistently engage in serve and return interaction, beginning in infancy, builds a foundation in the brain for all the learning, behavior, and health that follow.
Serve and return interaction with adults is how child brains develop. Serve and return helps to create a safe, stable, and nurturing environment for brain development. Did you know new neural connections are formed in a child's brain at the rate of about 1 million per second from birth to about age 5? Let's take a look at some more of those serve and return interactions.
Did you know that you can help build a child's brain?
Those are bananas.
Everyday interactions can have a big impact on developing brains throughout childhood, starting even before babies can talk.
Scientists call this serve and return, like a game of tennis or ping pong. A child serves by showing an interest in something, and the adult responds in a supportive way.
Finding moments throughout the day to do it is easy and fun, and you'll be building strong brains. You can use 5 steps to practice serve and return with any child. Step 1, share the focus.
When a child is interested or curious, you can see it.
What's this? It's a stroller.
Watch this child look at something in a book, right there. Pointing shows interest.
Cow.
So does making a sound, like this child. And mom is paying close attention.
See baby moving those little arms and legs and focusing on the ball? That's a serve.
The key is paying attention to what the child is noticing.
Oh, you like those guys too?
Look at Grandpa sharing the focus.
By noticing serves, you will help build curiosity, and you'll strengthen your relationship.
Step 2, support and encourage.
You can return a child's serve by saying a word of encouragement.
That's right. Very good.
Watch Grandpa return this serve by saying thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Even a facial expression can encourage a child.
Orange.
Or emotion, like this mom dancing.
Time. A.
You can also pick up the object that the child is pointing to and bring it closer.
We need help to sit her down.
Things like helping and playing with the child let them know that their thoughts and feelings are heard and understood. Step 3, name it.
Yeah, the puppy. See the windows, the house.
When you return a child's serve by naming what they are seeing, doing, or feeling, you make important language connections in their brain.
He's got bumps all over him, huh?
This brain building happens even before a child can talk or understand your words.
You can name anything: a person, a thing, an action, a feeling, or a combination.
Clean up, everybody do your shit.
When you name what a child is focused on, you help build understanding of the world around us and what to expect from it.
The baby's sitting. Ooh, the baby's sitting in the back seat of the car.
You like those? Those are raisins. You have raisins all the time.
Naming also gives a child words to use later and shows that words are important to you.
Step 4, take turns back and forth.
Taking turns helps children learn self-control and how to get along with others.
Waiting is crucial. When you return a serve, give the child a chance to respond.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Note that the caregiver waits here for the next serve.
See this toddler navigating a new adventure? Grandpa is waiting patiently, returning serves by asking questions and then waiting to see what happens next.
You want to cover it?
Yeah.
Are you cold?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this over your lap like this, okay? There. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
By waiting, you give the child time to develop ideas and build confidence and independence.
Step 5. Practice endings and beginnings.
You wanna go over there?
Children signal when they're done or ready to move on to a new activity.
Watch how this child shows it's time to start something new. Letting go of a toy signals an ending. Then picking up a new toy signals the next beginning.
Wanna play with the giraffe?
Sharing the focus is important in this step.
Ooh, the big eagle.
Because this mom is sharing the focus, she notices when her child is ready to end one activity and begin something new.
X, Y, and Z.
When you can find these moments for a child to take the lead,
Let me try this one.
you support the child in exploring their world
Would you like to play with something else?
and make more serve and return interactions
Yeah, you wanna
possible.
sit there?
Serve and return interaction is critical for a child's developing brain. And the best news is that you can do it anytime, anywhere, without any need for toys or technology.
Look for small opportunities throughout the day, like while you're making a snack or while you're grocery shopping. What matters most is that you're doing each of these 5 steps. Notice the serve and share the child's focus of attention. Return the serve by supporting and encouraging. Name it, take turns going back and forth, and practice endings and beginnings.
Serve and return interactions make everyday moments fun and become second nature with practice. Try practicing with a child today.
These videos are great demonstrations of serve and return interactions for parents and caregivers who want more information or want to learn more. These serve and return infographics are a little wordy for clients, but they're a great reminder for home visitors looking for positive interactions, just to remind you of what you're looking for and the kinds of things that you want to say about what you see. Some questions you might want to ask clients after or even before talking about serve and return interactions. How did you learn parenting skills? What were your caregivers like when you were growing up? What are your parenting goals? And then the positive experiences you're providing your child and the safe, stable, and nurturing environment you are creating are a buffer to the effects of negative experiences. Can I share information about the Adverse Childhood Experiences study with you? And guess what? By connecting the dots, you have taught the curriculum for ACEs and brain development. It's that easy. So remember, have your elevator speech ready. Know when it's time and when it isn't, and then just start the conversation. Remember, it's about the conversation, not the questionnaire. Thank you so much for participating in this TIA PHN training.